you visit the sites. Once you visit the sites, you get to understand. Once you visit the sites, you will. So, um, now taking it this way, we have, and I also took us through the website samples where we talked about during the CSS. Now I told you something earlier that every site has a content, a message. So it has an objective, which whatever you are doing should uh, dive towards that objective. That objective of, okay, what is this site portray? Is this site calling for people to click on it and get it working, or what? Or is it for donation, or is it for read more, or what is this, does this site entails? That's basically for that. So when you looking at this thing, you see that we have looked at HTML, CSS, now JavaScript. Earlier before, during the first class, introductory class, when we started, I mentioned earlier that JavaScript is just like the decoration. Now, there are many, um, you can choose to live in a house. You can choose to live in a house that is not a house that is not furnished, that does not have an AC, a furnished automated curtains, fridge, and all that. Once you have somewhere a chair you could sit down, and a bed you could lie down, you could choose to live in that kind of house, which is not mandatory for you to have. Is not a must that everybody should have an AC in the house, an air condition, or have an automated house, an automated door for door open, door close, curtain close, curtain that. So that's the same thing when it comes to JavaScript in the web. So it is not mandatory that you must use JavaScript. So I believe you could hear me. So now that's how it is. It's not mandatory that you should have a your website must contain JavaScript, as it is not mandatory that you must live in an automated house or a house that has a fridge and air condition. That's the same thing that goes to a website with JavaScript. It's not mandatory. But you add JavaScript first. JavaScript has certain reasons why we add JavaScript to our site. During the last class, I did mention it. I did mention that. I did mention that. I said I did mention that we have uh, reasons why we add JavaScript. Now, I asked one question during that class. I asked, is JavaScript a programming language? Some said yes. Some said some were not sure yet. And I believe someone answered that they should be. I don't know. I can't remember very well who did. So now JavaScript is a programming language. It's a scripting language that language. So, like I said, JavaScript is a scripting language that enables you to create a dynamic updating content, control multimedia, animate images, and a lot of goodies, just like you having an air condition, an automated house where you said door open, curtain close, play music, clean up the house, all that. That fancy, that's basically you. That's what you could do with JavaScript. Animate your static image to become so like look so real, like feel that feeling there. It gives you that feeling of yeah, this side is dope. So, like I said, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the basic. Just like we have a cake, we have layers in cake. One, two, three. So you can say that the HTML is the first layer, CSS is the second layer, then JavaScript is third layer. So what can JavaScript really do? That's the question. What can JavaScript really do? So you can use JavaScript to store values. You can use JavaScript to store values inside the variable. You can do operations, basic operations with JavaScript. Then you can run your code with events. We will be dealing with events. What is event? Is we are when we talk about event, we are not talking about occasion like wedding ceremonies and all that. Event has to do with occurrence. What happens? What is the effect of this? Now, when I click on the button, what is the effect? What happens? So those are events. On click, on mouse, on key key pressed, on mouse hover, a lot of events that you can get. So now we will ask, what is JavaScript doing on your web page? What is JavaScript doing on your web page? So when you load your web page in your web browser, you are running your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript inside an execution environment, which is the browser tab. So which is like a factory that takes raw materials, which is the code, and outputs the product, which is the web pages. Whenever you load a site, what you are basically doing is just like you in a factory, you pick up in the factory, you bring the raw materials, which is your code, and outputs the product, which is the web page. So that's basically what you do whenever you load your site. So now, how do we add JavaScript to your web page? How do you add JavaScript to your web page? Just like we have ways we add CSS to our HTML, how do you add JavaScript to our HTML? Now, JavaScript is applied to your CSS, to your HTML in a very similar manner to CSS. The same way you did it, you do for CSS. Now, in CSS, you use your style tag. You use your style tag in CSS. Now, in HTML, you use in JavaScript, you use your script tag for that. Now, you can use your internal, should I call it internal method. You could firstly, now let's take it step by step so that you could understand better. Someone asked, I'm not sharing my screen yet. I will soon do that. That's one Bruce Awile. So I'm not sharing my screen right now. I will soon do that. So what so now we are looking at how do we add HTML, the JavaScript to our, so we could use internal JavaScript. So what do I mean by internal JavaScript? Internal JavaScript, the same way you do for internal CSS, using your style um, tag. For JavaScript, use your script tag to do that. The same way you add internal CSS, that's the same way you add it follows the same flow, whereby you open your tag, use your script tag. Now, you how do you do that? You go to your text editor and add the following. You add your script tag on after the body, that's on the bottom of your page. Now, when you add once you add your opening script tag and your closing script tag, now inside it, that's where you that's where you now add your inside it, that's where you add your JavaScript, your script, your code, the JavaScript code. Now, when you save your file, you refresh it, you get it. That's how to add for internal JavaScript. Now, external JavaScript, just like we do for external CSS, we have external JavaScript too, where we use um hold on, let's see, let me share my screen and So I believe you all can see my screen. So this is how we do this. Let's just arrange this way. Now here we add our, I'll just recap on. So we could do it this way, we just add scripts here, scripts. So this is how we add our internal JavaScript. We add our internal JavaScript, then we write our JavaScript code instead. Use something like that. So you have your function and blah 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 and blah. Just leave it that way. So let's just leave it this way. Now that's for adding your internal CSS. So now when you want to add your external, so let me actually write an actual JavaScript code so that we could so I'm going to add the initial one I was doing. Let's see, function, create paragraph. Document that creates element P. So I just want to show some samples, then we could continue. Oh God, what am I doing? Oh, sorry, I forgot. I believe you could see my screen very big now, very large. I forgot that you can't really see how small it is. So document, dot body dot append child document dot append child. So who can tell us what this script is for? Who can who wants to go like looking at the piece of code we have function create paragraph because para equals to document dot create element p para dot text content equals to you click the button document dot body dot append para then cause button equal to document dot query selector or button for cause button of buttons button does add event listing and create paragraph. Who can tell us what do you think this thing does? The function we just created. Anybody? Anyone? All right, Sophia.
I think it's for creating a clickable button. I'm not sure, but
Creating
that's what I think.
very close.
Yes.
All right. Who else wants to try? Who else want to try? All right.
Sir, please go back to the code. The code is not showing.
Okay. Grab. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I skipped my hands. So, Rabiu, go ahead. Oh, fit here. So let me share my
Okay,
screen.
sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the code is for create. Whenever a button is clicked on, it will automatically lead to the creation of a new paragraph.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Rabiu. So basically, you see that you can do a lot of things with JavaScript. Just with JavaScript, you could create other. Once upon a time in 2018, yeah, early 2018. So there was this website I was asked to build. So I decided to like look at the website, something like clone, copy, like inspect the site. But something happened. like when I go to Control U, that's to open the source, then you copy the code, copy the HTML. I was trying to like be fast and all that. So when I opened the source code to copy HTML now, I found out that there was no HTML. Everything was just there's only just one like div, some few divs. But this side has a whole lot of things, and there's just like three divs. I was wondering what's going on, not knowing that the whole thing is linked with JavaScript, and almost everything is being created with the JavaScript on the script. The elements, the whole content was coming from the JavaScript and not the HTML, which that was before the outcome of React and all these their brothers. Before the outcome of React, you write JavaScript, you write vanilla and all that. So back to 2024, where we are right now. We so now let's add. Let me add this. I want to add this to. So now, um, this is how to add an internal JavaScript. So I'll copy the piece of code right now. So now we want to try out another method. This is internal JavaScript where we add JavaScript using the script elements at our JavaScript this way. So let's create a file. Let's create a file. So I'm going to come back to this place and create this is the JavaScript. JS. This is script, then say script. We also script.js. Now I paste my code. Then what do I do? I'm going to comment on this. Commented on this. So now, how do I add this script to my? How do I add this to my? How do I do this? Add my external JavaScript. I've created an external JavaScript file. So how do I add this external JavaScript file? Import it here. So we remember vividly that we added this inside the body, the script for the internal, we added in the body. Now, if we want to use the external, we come to the head section, your head, where we have just the same way you import CSS, external CSS in the head section. That's the same way we are going to do it. So what do? We use the script is I could just write script and use script module. That is change. Now with this kind of code, let's say importing our JavaScript. So with this, we have our JavaScript imported this line of code. So you could do something like this. I want to check out this code, whether it's, yeah. So if you want to check whether it's working, you click on your control and you click, it will take you to the source code. This is to ensure that the linking has done very properly. Also for your CSS, you could do the same thing. Just click on any link on your code. To open any link on your VS Code, you use control and you click on any of those links. It will take you to where it is, anywhere you are. So that's how to add JavaScript to your HTML file. Like we said, so now we have added our CSS. I'm going to look for a button on our HTML here. Let's see this first. Let's use this button, get started. So I'm going to add now, like I said, there is what we call an event because something must happen. I must, if you cannot cry, it's only when I slap you or give you a sounding slap that you cry, or my hand will show on your cheek, or when I give you star, like a slap that I can give you a factory reset, then you get this wing on your ear. You understand? So just don't mind I'm trying to like not you being scared of this whole JavaScript thing. It's fun. So it's only until I do that before, if you plant a nail, you have a nail in your hand, until you use a hammer or use a heavier object to strike on the head of the nail, you can't drive the nail inside the wall or on the piece where you want to drive it in. um so now that's the same thing. Something must happen. If I don't open my phone to join this call, I will not be inside this call. So if you don't, you have a bottle of water. If you don't open the cover, if you don't open the cover before you drink it, before you turn it, no matter how much you turn it, the water will not come out until you open the cover. That's when the water comes out. I'm dropping quotes. You can't, let's say you have a door that is being locked with a key. You cannot, no matter how much you try to use the door lock, you can't open that door until you put in the key and unlock it. So once you, even if you put in the key, until you turn it to the anti-clockwise
direction, that key will not unlock the padlock, but it is the key, but it will not unlock it until you turn it. There must be a turn in order to unlock the key. Talk to me. So I believe you are enjoying the sermon. So with that, you see that something must happen. This takes us to what we call events. Now I have a piece of code. It's my piece of code. I have a piece of JavaScript that says when button is clicked. But there is no, now we have a lot of buttons here, but there is no event. I've not added any event that would know when I've clicked the button. Do you understand? So now I need to add an event that tracks that when I click a button, it means that I've clicked a button. Do you understand? So bread, oh sorry. I'm sorry, it's not bread. So in the spirit of the whole thing, event, now we already know what I've tried to like draw light on what we call events, an occurrence. Now I'm going to add what we call an event listener. I'll use on now. There are a lot of event listeners we have on abort, on block, on can play through, on change, on click, on drag. There are a lot of on input, on focus, on error, on ended, on invalid, on key down, on key pressed, on mouse leave, on mouse enter, on mouse down, on load, on set, like on mouse up, on mouse wheel, on mouse. These are event listeners. So I'm going to use on click because we want when we click on a button. Now let's see. A pointing device button has been pressed and released on an element. Now this is so I'll say
Which copper na the one cup? We don't wear khaki, no be copper. As per written.
so now I've added this function.
But that I know it's not his own. That guy like selling
Some of them they go duplicate am.
Who is
We say you follow that they will not.
Yeah,
Crystal? Sorry, thank you so much. So 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 far I've added an event listener that listens. So um let's launch this, go live. So this is that. Um, let's use let's comment on this. Let's see this. So now I have this is my on click. This is the function, and this is what happens. So now, um, I have my event listener that listens to the function. So once you right click and click on go to definition to actually know which. So you see that this line of code is what is running. So we have this running already. So I will refresh it here and click. So if I click, how do we even find which of the buttons did I add? This. I added this. Oh my god. Okay. I will have to go to the CSS and mm, let's see. I don't want to take this far. I would have let's add CSS to mm, we have our so I'm going to do something like this. This where it does let's change our CSS. Okay. Now here I'm going to change the background color. Comment on it so that we have oh my god we have so now we have here I'm going to run this. So basically we need to find where it adds the okay let me move this to a proper browser so that we could listen to so let's see I want to see if the I want to see if the event is okay let's actually locate where we have where is this where do I have this which button has this okay workout program so we should be workout program button button so where is each of these buttons now let's pick this from here okay I'm going to add it to this place get started. Let's see. All right, we have it here. Let's refresh. We have it here. So once I click on the button, get started, I have you click the button. If I click like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, I have you click the button, you click the button, you click the button, you click the button. So now see that we have created the HTML. We have created a paragraph, or while once we click on a button, we create a paragraph. So that's basically how to add a JavaScript to our web page. Now you ask, can I do inline JavaScript? Is it possible? How possible is it for inline JavaScript? You will ask. It's very possible. Now, God, I don't want to go too far, but we have to go far. But in HTML, when you in HTML and inline, using inline way of adding a JavaScript means you're adding it inside your HTML, which is not a good practice. Why? You will ask, when we learn CSS, we said inline CSS is not a good practice. Now, inline JavaScript, will it also be a good practice or not going to be a good practice? So do we why is it not a good practice? Why is inline CSS not a good practice? Who is so now adding inline is not using inline is not a good practice. One, it's going to make your code very crazy. Two, readability will no longer be there because you now have inside your HTML, you're having a JavaScript, and you are wondering why is this? Sometimes you get confused the more. So it's best that you use either you use your internal or you use an external JavaScript to do that. So basically, we have looked at different ways of adding JavaScript to that. Now, as with HTML, we know that in HTML, you comment, you write a comment. In CSS, you also comment. In JavaScript, you do a comment. Now, when you use two forward slash, that's double forward slash, is used for comment in JavaScript. We use, let's say, this is, let me add it here. Let's say this is our first JavaScript. Our JavaScript code This is the way you add your comment with two double forward slash. While in CSS we use a forward slash is an asterisk, then a forward an asterisk again, the content an asterisk with a forward slash. Now this is the way we add comments to our CSS. While in HTML we use this. Now you see that as much as programming language is, comments are very important to help you make your work, your code very, to make your code very readable and easy to understand and easy going. Now we have looked at JavaScript, an overview of JavaScript, how to add JavaScript. Then we have looked at a sample of adding a JavaScript in a button that once you click on that button, you get it creates a paragraph for you. We have seen what, at least, what JavaScript can do. We have seen what JavaScript can do, the power of JavaScript. Now, then, we have also seen what we can do with JavaScript. We can use JavaScript to modify context. We can use JavaScript it helps in browser performance, to improve the browser performance. We also use JavaScript to make our work very smooth and fast. Now, that being said, we will be going into the basic of the basics of JavaScript. Now we have written a bunch of code. We don't really understand what it is. There's function, there's course, there's para, there's document, there's create element, there's a lot of stuff, append child, there's a whole lot of things at event listener happening here. What actually are all these? So we'll be moving down to basic of the basics of JavaScript. What JavaScript is, what does it really entail? What are the syntax? What are the so now welcome to where we do some magic, where we turn water into wine. When I said we will turn water into wine during this section, this is what I mean by turning water into wine. So now thinking like a programmer, because we have to now see things differently. That when we see water, we call it wine. And when we see stone, we call it, we'll see things, possibility of turning water into wine and stone into bread. Now, one of the hardest things to learn in programming is not the syntax you need to learn, it was how to apply it to solve a problem. I could just give you, oh yeah, let's go through this, let's go through that. What is array? variables, data types, data sets, all those things. How to write it, this is this. The real thing is using it to do a real thing. So aside from just learning the syntax and all that, we'll also look into how to use it to solve real problems. And I have a couple of many things to do here, but have a lot of mini projects to build with JavaScript while learning JavaScript. I don't want us to go to the long route of learning it like, okay, theoretically, I want us to have a more practical example of this. So now we'll look at something very much important, which is called variables. You have come across where you mention about variables everywhere. Variables, variables, variables. So variables and constants. What are variables? What are constants? I want to believe you guys are following. Please, if you're following and you're understanding, please drop a thumbs up or give me an emoji so I can know that you guys are following. Okay, just 2%. Wow. So I only have matter and doing, listening. All right. Okay, thank you, Briska. Thank you so much. So, like I said, we have few minutes. We'll use the few minutes to dive into the basics of JavaScript. So now, the first thing we'll look into is variables and data types. Variables and data types. And I believe I dropped an article on that earlier before this class there's an article on variables and data types. After the class, you could read through it and understand more on variables and data types. Now, like I said, variables are containers to store data. Variables are container used to store data. Now, in my code, I had created a variable called, this is a variable called button, which, okay, this is a variable called button, which is Now, which is here, this is equal to this. Now, I assigned this value here to this. So whenever I execute buttons, this is what I get. Now, here also where I created a variable called para. So now I now said para is equal to document.create element dot p, which is paragraph. Now para dot text content means now para, I'm calling para. When I call this para, means I'm referring to this variable I've created. Now I'm storing this action here on para. Now I'm calling para to para dot text content. Now is equal to this. Is equal to this word. You click the button, which is para. That's the content, the text content inside the variable I just created. Now say body document dot body dot append child para. Now I did not say append child document dot create paragraph. What I have is para. This para is equal to this. Now you see that I created this information here is equal, para is equal to this. Now every other place here now I'm using para, which shows you that para is a container, is a variable. I created a variable called para. So variables are container that is used to store data. So anytime I need this information about this, I just call up para. Whenever I need it, I call para. So that's how it is. Now there are many ways to create a variable. So let's go down to this so that we could. So we can use let age equal to 25. So I'm not saying that age is equal to 25. Now I can say course name equal to Alex. Now I could say console.log name and age. Now when I do this and come down to this place and open my console, you have Alex and 25. Now this is, you see that I just created, let's improve this zoom so that you can see this. The last time I did something like this. So we have Alex and 25 as the value of what I have here on my code. So this is a container. I've created a variable called age and another variable called name. Now, if you hover on, we want to go to the next thing, which is data type. what is data type. So like we said, let me just give you like a brief for those that are writing something. So variables are basically names for values such as numbers, strings, or text. You create you create a variable with the keyword let followed by the name of the variable you want to create. Then you now assign it a value. So when I use let, I can use any name, anything, then assign it a value. Just like here, when I created pause buttons, I gave it assigned it a value. You get that is how to create a variable. So we have constants. So now this is a variable and these are constants. Cost here is a short form for constants. Constants are also used to name values. Unlike variables, you can't change the value once set. Now, oh God, I don't want to go very much deep as this is our first class, but let's proceed. We're already going deep. So there is constant. Now, so this is variable and constant. Variable. Then this is a constant. A constant. So this is a variable. Now, variables are basically names for value. Which constant is also a name, is also used to name values. Now you create a name. This is a value, Alex. Now you want to assign, just like using a pronoun instead of a name in normal English language, where you use him to refer to a masculine. Instead of using obi, you now use him, he, he, him, he. Now you are using it to replace, instead of using Obi did this and he did that, and Obi did this and Obi did that. You now use Obi is this, he is this. So now that he is used in place of, is just like a variable that you created in place of Obi. Now, if you are creating something like that, what you now do, you now say let he equal to Obi. So I've created a variable he, which is just like what we do in our English language. Instead of using Obi everywhere, we now use he. You use he in place of Obi. Now I just assign that, telling this, since in programming you define everything. You can't just wake up and say and expect Obi to be a he. Obi cannot be a he or she until you assign it. So you create a variable called that he is equal to Obi. So anytime I use a he, means I'm also referring to Obi in this case. So which is a variable. Now, constant is the same thing. It's used to give to is used to name values. But there is difference between a variable and a constant. Even from the name, constant means you cannot change the value once it is set. That's a constant. Why variables can change? You can always update a variable, like reassign if he is equal to Obi. If he is equal to Obi, you can at the end you can update that he is equal to Chukwemeka. So that's when we move further, we will look at how to do this type of manipulation. But for now, let's get back to where we are. Variables and constants. So the key difference is that in constants, you can't change the value once it's set. Why variables? You can. So use an equal sign to assign values to a variable, which we just did. So now, data types. Or should we let's look at operators since we have seen equal to assign. Just like we have plus, minus, times, and division in mathematics, where we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division in mathematics. That's the same way we have it in programming. We have our addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Let's say console the log 6 plus 6 plus 2. So if I get to this place, you could see the value is 9, 6 plus 2. So I could add here and say, let number equal to 1. Now, so I want to, we have, just like in mathematics, we have the plus, which is addition. We have minus, which is subtraction. Then we have multiplication, which is then we have our division. This is multiplication. This is division. Multiplication and division. Multiplication and division. Then we have what we call compound assignment operators. Compound assignment. So we have this, which we call it assign. This is assign. This is assign. Then we have where we have compound where we have plus equal to. So before this, we have this one of these is assigned. So when we have 1, 2, 3, means strict equality. This is for strict equality. What do we mean by strict equality? It means that this is equal to this. It's just like saying 5 is equal to 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3. So it is strict equality means must be equal to that you are assigning. Then we have what we call not equal to. This is for not non-equality means it's not equal to. Non-equality is not equal to. So you could just say 5 is not equal to 4 plus 3. Or 4 plus 3. And you can say that Chris is not equal to Obi. Then we have our less than, and we have our greater than. So this is a less than, greater than. So now this is for operators. We have a lot of operators. Now let's look at the next thing, which is data types. If you notice, if I hover on this, we see that H is number. If I hover on this, E is string. Now, data types, we have number, we have string, we have boolean, we have undefined, we have none. So in data types, so this is for operators. These are JavaScript operators. JavaScript operators. So we'll look at data types. Data types will have a number. We have string. We have Boolean. Then we have undefined. Then we have none. So now numbers represent numeric values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 2. Then 9.1 decimals and all that. Those are under the categories of numbers, numerical values. Now string has to do with represent text, normal text, like hello, OP, word, girl, text, normal text that is not anything that is not number. Is string. Now, when you talk about Boolean, Boolean has to do with represents true or false. It's either true or false, 0 or 1, true or false. That's it. Then we have the next one, which is undefined. So undefined represents a value that has been declared but not assigned a value. Just like for undefined, an example is when I say let x, let x. So if you say let x now, so what is let x? Let x is undefined because there is no definition. You not define anywhere. It's not representing anything. What is representing is unknown. It's not you created a variable. Yes, you created some. There's something called just like you giving birth to just like you can define in a form. Let's say you are filling up a registration form and you refuse to fill up whether you're a male or a female. You are leaving that your gender becomes undefined because you are a gender, but we don't know whether you are a male or a female. So that input called field for gender becomes undefined because you have not defined your gender. Then we have so undefined represents a variable that has been declared but not assigned a value. You have not assigned a value to that. Then we have the next one, which is null. Null represents the intentional absence of any object. So you could say that let y equals to null means null means nothing. You are intentionally not imputing any value to it. So which is null means you are if you are intentionally doing it, when you assign that y should be null or ob should be null means you are intentionally choosing that. Just like when you are filling a registration form, there's where you said there's where you have preferred not to disclose. Now that is exactly what you are doing, like saying no. Instead of are you a male or a female or prefer not to, or you are get you are filling out, they said, are you eligible? Are you uh how do I put this? Are you which one do you yes, are you a male or a female or preferred not to? Sometimes you get those kind of forms where you have male, female, or preferred, and you now get the third option, which is preferred not to disclose. Means once you choose prefer not to disclose, means that your gender becomes no, because you are intentionally choosing not to disclose your gender. Do you understand that? Yes. Now, we talked about operators earlier, which we said we have arithmetic operators where we have the plus, minus, uh, addition, division, percentage, and all that. Then we have comparison operators where we say is equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. All these are comparison operators. Then we have what we call logical operators, where we have and. Now, I think I need to state this one, where we have logical, sorry, yes, logical, logical operators, operators. I'm sorry, I'll soon end the class for tonight. Let's just wrap up with these few things, then we call it a night. Then we have logical operators, we have and. Now, this is the same thing as and. For those that are computer science students that have done that has something to do with computer related during your school days or any other discipline, wherever you have come across these, both in mathematics, there's this, then we have this is or is this the same thing. This is where you use for or. Then you have the next one, which is then we have our not, which is the same thing as this. This is calculator not. I believe you are following. Or am I the only one? Yes, I believe you are following. So if you can follow, you could still hear me. Please drop an emoji. Let's know those that are really here. All right, thank you so much, Abdullah, Florence. Thank you so much. So now these are ways when you want to use and in JavaScript, we use two these two symbols for and. When you want to use or, you use two these are the same button that you use for your backward slash. That's the same button that gives you, when you hold down your shift, it gives you this, which is for. Then you have your not. Now we have control flow. Control flow has to do with, under control flow you have your conditional statements, which are if else, if. These are for making decisions. Just like if I say, Florence, unmute your mic. If you have something to say it. Else, mute yourself. Now, I just gave an example. That's a conditional statement. Sorry, Florence, mute yourself. I'm just giving an illustration. Thank you so much. So now, if I could say, if your hands are raised up, unmute yourself and talk. That's a condition. So I'm only responding to those that have their hands lifted up. So when I ask, if you have submitted your assignment, signify by raising your hand. Now, a lot of persons signified, which is a conditional statement. So I could ask Krista to go downstairs to the kiosk, get me Pepsi. If there is no Pepsi, you buy Mirinda. If there is no Mirinda, you buy Hollandia. Else, you come back. Meaning, if they don't have a Pepsi, they don't have Mirinda, and they don't have Hollandia, come back. Now, these are conditions. So once you go there, hi, give me Mirinda. Give me Pepsi. I don't have Pepsi. Okay, do you have Mirinda? Give me Mirinda. Oh, sorry, Mirinda has finished. Okay, what of Hollandia? They says, oh, so sorry. I think today is your bad day. We don't have any Hollandia. Our Hollandia, we just sold the last one. You don't have a choice then. The next thing you do is to leave that kiosk. So that's a conditional statement conditional action that we do every day, which is the same thing that we do in programming. So I always tell people, relate programming to real life and real life to programming. Now, with this scenario I just gave, with this same scenario, you can easily understand how if conditional statements work. So if there's no Pepsi, you go for Mirinda. If there's no Mirinda, that means you don't have choice. You have to come back. Else, that means you have to. If now there is another scenario where we have so that's for if else statement, conditional statement, making decisions. Now there's another control flow which is called loops. What is loops? Now, loops is to repeat a code block. Now, it's just like your fan. You have your fan. Now, when you turn on your fan, you turn on the switch, then it continues to flow, to turn. Your fan continues to turn until something happens. Either they take the line or you switch it off. Else it will continue to turn. It will not stop. It will just continue turning. That is a loop. Example of a loop. A loop continuous working, continuous happening until something cuts it short, until there is a command to abort. So how do I explain this? Example. Okay, we use the example of a fan for that loops. So under the loops we have for y, do y. So for the switch, why the switch is as one, blow, let your turning be very spent and just chill. When for switch at 3, blow to the maximum, turn the fan to the maximum. So now see that you have defined all this. So this is basically that for loops. Then we have, these are the two control flows. We have conditional statements and loops under your control flows. You use it basically for controls. Now we have functions. Then we have arrays, we have objects, and so because of time, we end the class here. I'll take a few questions, then we'll draw the curtain tonight. Then possibly we could have a class tomorrow so that we could complete this and start the main thing. So once again, I welcome you all to the world of JavaScript, where everything is possible, where you can write, when you write your mathematics, your English, sometimes you could use your native language. You do all sorts of calculations. You do all sorts of things where you turn water into wine and you turn stones into bread. Once again, I welcome you all to JavaScript. Thank you so much. So I believe that we have gone through a lot. We have looked at taking an overview of JavaScript, which we took an example of what we can do with JavaScript. Then we also looked at why we need JavaScript, how we can add it to our HTML, different ways we could do that. And we always know that the best way is either we use the best way actually is always using an external, because it helps you to arrange in your file arrangement. Your file looks complete and looks arranged and professional when it's on an external file. Then we looked at the basics. We started from the basic, the 001, which we started from variables. We also looked at data types. We looked at operators. We looked at control flows where we have our conditionals, conditional statements, and loops. Then we also talked about function, which will look more deeply in our next class. Then I avail you all to look through the article that I dropped on the group, which has a very detailed information about variables and data types and basics of JavaScript. So at this junction, I'm open for questions. Do you have any questions? Please ask your questions so that we could draw the content for tonight. All right, Florence, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Thanks for the class. It's not like a question actually. I have too much to digest than to ask question right now. Um,
Okay.
it's about the assignment. I wasn't able to submit the assignment because she said I should reach out to Christiana about the video. And when I reached out to her, she was like she did not really have much knowledge about it. Then I had to go myself to search for how to find my solution. And I asked Ma'am Lucy if I should submit the link like that. She said she was going to get back